Hi, we are at SB58 and I'm here with Hailey Campbell, Co-Executive Director of Care About Climate, and she's going to share with us some updates of what is going on at SB58. So I don't know if you could share any takeaways. I know that the agenda hasn't been adopted yet, so that's something that's challenging right now because we want that all the work that we're doing here is reflected at COP28. But well, let's see. Do you have so far any key takeaways that you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. So there's been a lot of amazing things that have happened at these talks, and hopefully they will adopt the agenda. It's actually quite disappointing and unusual and shocking to have only 2 days left in these conversations and have not agreed yet on an agenda, which is just the basis for all the work that we're doing right now to be able to make an impact at COP28. So things that are good, though, that have been happening, they were the Action for Climate Empowerment, ACE dialogues, and this is the first year in this new implementation phase of ACE, so it's really exciting because this is the work program where we're learning about how to empower and train and bring in more voices to the climate space, not just here, but also at home in our everyday lives. And so it's really exciting to see these dialogues moving forward. There are also the ocean dialogues happening, which is amazing to be a part of because everyone is just talking about how much they love the ocean, and I think we can all agree on that. And so it's nice to finally have an opportunity to be bringing oceans, which are one of the most important resources for fighting the climate crisis, into these spaces. On a more technical aspect, two of the most really important work programs that have been talked about at these SBs are the Just Transition Work Program as well as the Mitigation Work Program, and they kind of are complementary in the sense that mitigation is supposed to be able to help countries build best practices, investment practices, and more to be able to figure out what needs to happen to tackle the climate crisis specifically in their national context, whereas the Just Transition is like the how do we get there. So it's the what to the how do we get there, and make sure that we're not making poverty worse, make sure that we're helping people transition into the green workforce, and we're helping young people like me find jobs that are going to be good for people and the planet, and not going into these jobs that are having devastating impacts on communities around the world. And so really excited to see those two work programs, and of course many more things like the global stocktake coming to a close finally in the technical section and move into the political section, where there've been a lot of very strong statements to help raise ambition to actually keep 1.5 alive this time around in the NDC. So yeah, lots to look forward to there.
Exactly, and also for COP28, we know that the loss and damage fund and funding arrangements is going to be a huge conversation.
Yes.
However, we can't forget about the mitigation and adaptation work, right?
Exactly.
So, any ideas of which tracks maybe we should focus on more as civil society as we, started the road to COP28?
Yeah, that's a really important question. Last year at COP27, there was a really big push finally for adaptation and loss and damage, which are two tracks that have never gotten the attention that they really deserve and need for our global communities. At the same time, now we're having these discussions about how to elevate mitigation, because the first best defense against having to pour billions into adaptation and loss and damage and lose cultures and communities and homes is to be able to mitigate and prevent these things from happening in the first place. And so in terms of attention, I think they all need equal attention. One should not be given more than the other, and that's a little bit of the issue we're seeing right now at the SBs with the agenda is, some communities are finally really excited to see loss and damage and adaptation on the agenda, and there's concerns that mitigation might take away from that, and I hope that's not the case, and I really do believe that they all deserve equal attention because we need everything we can to tackle the climate crisis.
Yeah, and now as an expert of navigating the UNFCCC process and all these climate negotiation rooms, do you have any advice to civil society on how they can make sure that their demands are reflected on the final decisions? Because, well, we know that the process is party driven. However, we of course need to incorporate different views of stakeholders. So any advice on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really important point because though we're in these walls right now negotiating the climate crisis and how we're going to be tackling it, as we're not we, but countries rather are going to be tackling it, ultimately it reflects back onto the communities and to everyday people like us who are going to have to live with the decisions that are made and live with the impacts that happen. So in terms of getting engaged as someone who's not a country, who's not a negotiator, there's a lot of different things that we can do. I can maybe name 3 quick ones. First, join one of the 9 different constituencies that have this opportunity to provide interventions and have credibility to meet with negotiators to actually provide positions. I'm personally a part of the Children and Youth constituency, otherwise known as YOUNGO, and it's been a really amazing growing and learning opportunity on how to actually make an impact. Second is definitely do some research on trainings or other things that are out there. For example, Care About Climate hosts a COP training that's welcome to anyone in the community to learn and up their skills to be able to be in these spaces and making an impact. So definitely see what's out there and what's right for you to be able to make an influence here. And lastly, it's really important to connect with your policymakers, and anyone can send an email. And I always advocate for people to send an email, make a phone call, social media DM someone who is on your policy team and let them know how you're feeling as their constituent, as the person that's supposed to be representing our voices as civil society. And so reaching out in advance is a really great way if you're not able to be there physically at the COP, like so many people aren't. And so I really encourage everyone to just join a constituency, look out for trainings that might empower you, and of course, make your voice heard and really uplift each other to bring those voices together from our community to these big UN climate walls.
Yeah, I love this advice because it's not only about also making an impact here, but then the knowledge that you gain here and the impact that you have, you can bring that to your own country. So that's amazing, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think as a last comment, I hope they also fill the Loss and Damage Fund. That would be really meaningful and important to so many communities around the world. And for civil society out there, we do live in an era of escalating climate emergency and impacts, but we all have a part to play, and this is just one part. And so I'm really excited to be able to share about the technical policy knowledge, but also the empowerment and things that we can do back at home to make our communities climate ready, but also, fossil fuel free. And so I hope to see ultimately an equitable fossil fuel phase out at this COP28 decision for the very first time in a decision text.
Yeah, let's hope that we have a successful COP28, and
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you.